Unit 5, Lesson 15 homework with me, Miss Billman. This homework looks kind of deceiving, right? Only 6 questions, but they do involve a lot. So with number 1, we have 2 different parts of this inequality that we're looking at. We have 2/3 x, where x is equal to 1/2. I'm going to evaluate the 2/3 multiplied by 1/2, which I just multiply straight across, and I get 2/6. I can also simplify that to 1/3. Now the second part is 1/3 multiplied by 1/2 plus 1/4. Now I'm going to multiply the 1/3 and the 1/2, and I get 1/6, and I will be adding 1/4 to it. Now, if I remember back to working with fractions, I have to have a common denominator to add the 1/6 and the 1/4. That common denominator is 12. So 1/6 is equivalent to 2/12, and 1/4 is equivalent to 3/12. When I have a common denominator, I'm able to add and subtract fractions versus when I multiply and divide. So I get an answer of 5/12. Now to the right, where it says tell whether x is equal to 1/2 is a solution of the equation or an inequality. What I'm crossing out is the 2/3 x. I already figured out it's 2/6. The other part that I'm crossing out is the 1/3 x plus 1/4. That's 5/12. Oh man, now we need to find another common denominator. At this point, it's kind of like trying to compare apples to oranges. They're close, but not quite. So my 2/6 can be an equivalent fraction with a common denominator of 12. So I have 5/12. It stays the same. The 2/6 is going to become 4/12. So now I really can look at these and go, okay, which one is bigger or which one is smaller? So now I can compare 4/12 to 5/12. Is 4/12 equal to 5/12? No. Is 4/12 less than 5/12? Yeah, it is. And for the next one, is 4/12 greater than 5/12? It's not. When I do it this way, it makes it less overwhelming than trying to solve them all at once. When I evaluate first, then go back and make mathematical decisions, it makes it easier on myself. So number 2, we're going to do the same thing, but this time we're looking at the x being 3/4. I multiply straight across for 2/3, and I get 6/12. 6/12 can also be 1/2. Now this time I'll start with the multiplication, 1/3 multiplied by 3/4, and I get an answer of 3/12. And then I need to add 1/4. My common denominator is 12. So 3/12 plus 3/12. So I get an answer of 6/12, or 1/2. Now I'm going to do the same thing like I did right above. I'm going to cross out what they have on these equations and the inequalities, and I'm going to write what my evaluated answer is. This makes it way easier to compare. So 1/2 versus 1/2. Well, is 1/2 equal to 1/2? Yeah, it is. It sure is. So is 1/2 less than 1/2? Nope. Is 1/2 greater than 1/2? Not so much. It'd be different if this said greater than or equal to or less than or equal to. So I do the same thing for number 3. Evaluating 2/3 x for x is equal to 2. When it's a whole number like that, I have my 2 over a 1, and I multiply straight across. So I get 4/3, or I could say that's 1 and 1/3. I could simplify it to that. Either way, it's going to make it work. So now I have 1/3 x plus 1/4. I multiply my 1/3 by 2, which is 2 over 1, and I get 2/3. And then I'm going to add 1/4. The common denominator between the 3 and the 4 is 12, and 2/3 is equal to 8/12, and the 1/4 is equal to 3/12. I add them together and I get 11/12 as my answer. I will do the same thing that I did on the right, and I will be trying to decide, are they equal, less than, or greater than? So is 1 1/3 equal to 11/12? Eek. It's not. Now, is 1 1/3 less than 11/12? Ooh, it's not. Is 1 1/3 greater than 11/12? Yep, it really is. So again, these are no, and then another no, and then a yes. When you take it slow, it's easier to handle and you don't have to feel so overwhelmed. For 4, 5, and 6, we will be solving to make these even. Remember, think of that, think of a teeter-totter, right? So I know, then I try to figure out what happened here. I don't know why I'm just an amateur hour when I touch things on here, but I want the different sides of my equation to be equal. So I know that these look pretty similar. I want them to even like a teeter-totter. So now I'm thinking, okay, 3x plus 94 and 21 plus 94. So 3 multiplied by something gives me 21, and that's 7. Now this number 5 looks pretty similar to the distributive property. It's kind of what it's making me feel like, and it needs to be 7 multiplied by something is equal to 7 multiplied by 3. So it needs to be 7 multiplied by 3, but how do I get it to go from x minus 19? Well, now I'm going to be thinking backwards, because really I'm thinking 19 plus 3. So x will need to be 22, because 22 minus 19 is 3, and then it will give me an equal 7 multiplied by 3. In this case, I will be trying to figure out 145 divided by 5, and this has x plus 8 divided by 5. So I need something that can be 145 minus 8 to get this answer, and it's 137. Thanks for joining.